All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm so excited to talk about lesson planning with you today. All right. So let's go into lesson planning. So, what should you prioritize when you are creating your lesson plans? Um, and how do I know what to teach, right? That's a big question is like, how do I figure out what I should need to teach? So you start with the student IEP goals. That's always a great place to start. You usually have access to those already. Pull up what your students are working on, and you can really find a lot of information about what you should be teaching and doing lessons on right in your student IEP goals. So I would write those down. Then what is the grade level content? If it's modified, great. If it's not, great. What are your grade level standards and content that you should be working on, right? What are the other general education teachers working on? Ability level content, of course, like again, I worked with middle school and high school students. A lot of their abilities were at kindergarten through first grade levels. And so I needed to modify those state standards and the content that I needed to teach. I couldn't teach Huck Finn, but I could modify it and teach Huck Finn, right? That kind of thing. State standards, another great place to look. Again, look at their grade level and look at their ability level. Very different. And is there any parallels or anything that you can bring in? There were times that I didn't think my students could do elapsed time. Elapsed time was something I did time and then I did elapsed time. And I was like, I don't think they're going to get this. And they were getting it. I was so excited. So don't ever think to count them out. If you're like, "Oh, there's no way we can do this, right? Is there a way we can do this? Check your special education curriculum, of course. If you have access to curriculum, some of us didn't and don't. But if you do have special education curriculum, check that and see what you should be teaching. Maybe that maps out what you should be teaching each month or each unit. Write that down. Is there any regular education curriculum that you have to follow? I know there's some teachers that I've worked with in our mentorship program that have to follow the regular education curriculum, and so they modify it to meet their students' needs. So if that is the case, make sure to do that. And then, of course, if there's other fun stuff like a holiday or like let's teach a life skill about how to read a recipe, other things that you want to teach could totally come into this too. So there's lots of things that we can teach. Um, so let's talk about the actual lesson plan as we go into it. We want to gain the student's attention. Do something that's fun, exciting. Put a brown bag in the middle of the room with something in it, right? It's enticing. It's exciting. They want to see what it is, right? Maybe they get to touch it, maybe they don't. Try to do something that's fun. Not always is a video the best way to get the student's attention. I know I see this a lot, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more. But I'm gonna keep going because I will get on my soapbox about videos. Warm-ups. Do some type of warm-up, right? Let's, as a group, we're gonna answer this math problem. That's gonna be our warm-up. Doing a review as well could be a way to kind of introduce the lesson. What did we learn about yesterday in math? Well, today we're gonna learn about addition. That kind of thing. Do some review. Vocabulary can also go into that. What other vocab words do we need to know? Oh, we need to know chrysanthemum because we're reading the book Chrysanthemum. What's a chrysanthemum? That kind of thing. Direct instruction, again, is you as the teacher are giving information to the students. This is a short time. I don't want this to be the whole class, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But direct instruction is so important because that is where you are teaching the thing to the students. And then there's guided work, right? We're going to work together to complete this, right? Maybe I'll do some of it, you do answer some of it. We're going to work together as a group. Independent work, of course, is what are they doing? How do you know that they are learning it? How are they showing their skills? That's their independent work. And then, of course, a wrap up. Hey, let's reflect on what we did today. Everybody done? Great. We did this all together, right? Do some type of wrap up. And tomorrow we're going to learn about this, right? It's always really helpful. And I think the wrap up usually gets forgotten for most people because of time, and I get that. So, things that we want to avoid as we are talking in our classrooms. Lectures. Lectures are a huge part of that irk me as a teacher when I go in and observe other teachers and they are just talking the whole time. They are not doing anything other than talking. They're just talking at the students. The students don't have anything in front of them. There's nothing for them to do. it annoys me so much. I'm like, okay, you need to stop talking. There needs to be times that the students need to be talking and be engaged. Um, Similarly, using so many words. If I kept talking this whole time and not paused or not gave you a minute to respond, right? If this was a lesson, you would be so annoyed with me, like, you done talking yet? So wordy words, so many words. Just keep that to a minimum. Say what you need to say and move on. Videos. Here we go. Now I get on my soapbox. Videos with no explanation. This annoys me so much. When a teacher puts on a video for 3, 5, 7 minutes, something like that, and then just plays the video, walks around the room, does something else to set up the next thing, and I get it, you need to do that. But then pauses the video or ends the video and keeps going. Doesn't talk about it at all. Doesn't pause in the middle of the video, explain what's happening. Hey, did you see how Jack Hartman did this or said this? That's what you need to do. That's what it needs to look like. You need to pause, stop, draw their attention to things, explain it. That's what a video should do if you are going to include it. My biggest thing is playing a video and then there's no explanation of why we played this video. What was this video supposed to be showing me? Like, am I supposed to do something with this information? So just be careful of videos. And again, if it's an engagement thing, fine, I understand, don't explain it. But if it's actual content, please explain it. No hands-on activities. Again, what are the students doing while you're lecturing, while you have your discussion going on? What do the students have? Do they have manipulatives in front of them? Do they have a worksheet to follow along to answer questions? Is it a note guide? Make sure you have materials in front of you so that you know exactly, or students have materials in front of them so they know what's going on. That even if it's the PowerPoint that you have showing, that could be so helpful to students to have the PowerPoint in front of them. Teacher focus versus student focus. So I think a lot of us have this is what I'm going to do as a teacher in this class. This is what I need to do to get the lesson done. But it needs to switch slightly of like, what do I expect the students to be doing while I am doing my direct instruction? What do I expect the students to be doing when we're doing guided practice? What do I expect the students to be doing when it's independent work, right? This doesn't always need to be what do I need to do throughout the lesson to make sure I'm doing the vocab and the review and the lesson. You know, you want to make sure that the students have something to do as well. So just think about that as you are lesson planning this year. All right, some other things to not forget, which I've talked about already. What are the students doing? Super important, right? Again, what are the students doing at every component? What is the point of this video? Why am I showing this video? Is it fun? Is it engaging? It's a video that my students really like, so it really gets them excited about the lesson? Sure, fine. But if it's a content, explain it. Guided notes or printed materials, again, what are the hands-on materials that the students have that they need? Again, math with manipulatives are super easy to do. Guided notes or handouts, the printed PowerPoint that you have could also be really helpful for them to just interact with. And then what are your staff doing? This is another thing I haven't talked about. There were teachers that I had seen previously who they would teach. They would do the whole thing, teach the whole thing. And then their staff would just kind of be standing around going, I don't know if I'm supposed to help. I don't know if I'm supposed to stay back. So what are your staff going to be doing during a lesson? So just think about those things. And then how do I know if the students have mastered this topic? I'm going to spend a couple weeks on it? Is it that their independent work is going to tell me that they've mastered it? How do I know when I move on? That's a big question I feel like I get all the time, is how do I know when my students have mastered this topic and I need to just keep going? So when do I move on? Right? Again, when they've mastered it, you've seen their independent work, they're able to show you, they answer all the questions correctly, or at least for the most part. You've spent multiple weeks on it. I say if you are spending a topic more than 4 weeks on a topic, I would say pause. Go to something else and come back. Because if they're not mastering it in 4 weeks, again, your learners might just take longer to do that. But you could also spiral your lessons. So I'm going to go down to spiral lessons. So something that I've done is, okay, in October, I'm going to teach addition. In 4 weeks, if we don't master addition, I might teach that again in April. And I'm going to do it again. maybe with different manipulatives, maybe with different materials. And you might want to spiral your lessons that way. And so that I'm teaching it in October, but I'm also teaching it in April. So there might be times that you teach it again and again and again, just a couple times throughout the year. When do you move on? When you're bored. I know that's a terrible answer, but when your students are bored, you are bored with the topic, they're not learning because you're not excited about it, move on. Go to something else and come back to it. Again, you can spiral your lesson, bring it back another time. Or when you are seeing gaps. There was a class that I had seen that they were teaching how to measure with a ruler. And so that was super fun for us to see. A lot of hands-on. You had rulers, they had items to measure, but none of them knew to line it up to 0. So they were just putting the item on the ruler and going, it's 17. And you're like, that can't be an answer. But and I was like, okay, but are you all the way at 0? Like we had to go back to square one to teach them like, all right, line it up to the edge of the ruler, then measure. And so we had to go back. If you're seeing gaps, move back, go back, like teach it again, and then move forward. So all right, reminders that can help you in the future. Make sure you're writing all this down. What did you teach last year? Do you have some type of lesson planner or Google Drive, or just saving materials or folders in your Google Drive or on your desktop or somewhere? Because we want to make sure that you are, from year to year, not reinventing the wheel. You can change out topics and switch topics out, but you should probably have a good rhythm of a 2 or 3 year rotation of things that you're teaching each year that are the same and things that you're switching out. So just try to keep that all organized. It'll save you a lot of time in the future as you're lesson planning. All right, let's have a great school year. Let's get your lesson planning done, ready for back to school. And I will see you tomorrow for our last session on neurodiverse practices or neuroaffirming practices, and how you can support your learners with diverse needs.